Hi there! Welcome back once again to Legacy Finance. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about 5 books that have had a transformational effect on my life. It is my hope that you find one or two of these books very helpful and valuable to yourself as you watch this video. And if you are new to this channel, Legacy Finance is all about personal finance, investments, and entrepreneurship. You may consider subscribing if you are interested in growing your money, building wealth, and achieving financial independence over the long term. That is the sole purpose of this channel. Now, books are usually written by authors who usually take more than 4 to 5 years to compile. However, you as an individual can sit down and in a matter of 2 or 3 hours, you are able to read all that the author has gathered in 4 years in the matter of 2 or 3 hours. This makes books one of the greatest resource and a learning tool out there for many people there. So in this video, I'm going to highlight just 5 practical books that I've read that have really influenced me greatly. And it's my hope that you find some of these books very valuable to yourself too. And if at the end of this video, you find this video really valuable, please remember to support this channel by giving this video a like and also consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Now, the books that I'll be listing, they are not in any order of importance, but since this channel is all about personal finance and personal investments, I would like to start with a finance book, and that is the book that goes by the title The Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon is a classic. It's written for over 50 years ago, but its relevance is still very important in present times. Now, the book basically talks about the Babylonians who came from a very poor background. They didn't have so much resources on their land, but they were able to take advantage of certain practices, and that gave them wealth over the long time. Now, there are 3 key takeaways from this book that I took. The first takeaway from this book is that you have to learn to practice to pay yourself first. That is one of the best practices that these Babylonians adopted, and it really grew well for them over the long term. The second thing that I picked from this book is where to invest your money. And this book outlined 3 major matrices that you should consider before investing your money. The first one is security of your principal. The second is the fact that you can make claims back on your principal as and when you need it. And the third thing is the fact that your principal should be able to generate some interest for you as well. So that is the second key takeaway from this book. You have to invest your money where these 3 matrices are met. And the last thing that I really took away from this book, and there are many lessons out there, but the last thing I picked away from this book is the fact that you have to believe that you can build wealth as a first generational wealth builder. You don't need to come from an aristocratic family. You don't need to already be rich you don't need to be from a rich family before you can build wealth. All that it takes is to adopt certain financial practices that will help you build wealth over the long term. So those are 3 major key takeaways from the book The Richest Man in Babylon, and I highly recommend that everyone who is starting out in their financial journey should get a copy of this book and read. It will help you a lot in your financial journey. This is a book written by George Glasson. It's a classic and it's a must read for anyone who is interested in building their personal finance. So that is that with the first book. Now, the second book that I want to talk about has nothing to do with personal finance, but it's a book that will help you in your human relations. We know that one of the major determinants of success in life is your ability to relate with people, to work with people, and also to handle teams of people. So this is an area that most of us are not very skilled in, but this book that I'll be mentioning will provide you with the ideas, the tools, and the suggestions that you need to really improve upon your human relation skills, irrespective of who you are, whether you are an introvert or no matter how poor you are in human relation skills. And that is the book written by Dale Carnegie, and it goes by the title How to Win Friends and How to Influence Friends and How to Win Friends and Influence People. This is a classic. It's a book that has stayed for over 50 years, but the lessons in it are invaluable, and anybody at all who is interested in improving upon their human skills can grab this book and you'll learn a lot from it. Now, here are some key takeaways from this book that I read. The first thing is that human relation skills can be built. Nobody is born with human relationship skills. It's something that you learn. It's a skill that you can acquire, provided you are ready to invest the time and energy into it. So that is a skill that can be built, or it can be acquired over the long time. And once you acquire this skill, it will go a long way to affect your productivity at your job place, it will affect your productivity with your family, and it will also affect your productivity with your friends too as well. Now, the second key takeaway from this book is the aspect of leadership. This book will also teach you about leadership. Leadership is a trait that is not inherited, it is learned. You learn it as you grow. So this book will teach you about leadership and how you can develop yourself as a leader. It's a very small volume but very valuable book that you can take advantage of. Now, the third thing that I picked away from this book is the fact that emotional intelligence is more important than academic intelligence. Now, throughout our educational system, the primary focus is always on the academic aspect of our development, where you have to make sure you score very high test scores on subjects that you write. However, in the real world or in the working world, the emotional intelligence becomes very important, because that is the kind of intellect you need to work with people and to also relate with people as a whole. So this book will teach you that emotional intelligence is very important, and it will show you the ways and strategies that you can use to really develop your emotional intellect. I strongly recommend this book for anyone who is interested in building their human relationship skills. It's a classic, and it's a very valuable resource to have as part of your library. So that's the second book that I strongly recommend that you read, and because it has really added value to me as a person. Now, the third book that I'm going to talk about is a book that is into business. Because this channel is all about personal finance and investments, I thought it wise to include a book that talks about investments and businesses. And that is a book written by Moshi Ademola. He's a Nigerian, and he goes into the life and biography of one of the greatest and richest persons in Africa, and that is Aliko Dangote. Aliko Dangote. This is a very powerful book. You see that it's very thick, but it's very powerful. It has a lot of valuable lessons in it. If you make the time and you are really ready to put in the hours to read this book, there's a lot that you can learn from it. The biography of the richest black person in the world, that is Aliko Dangote. It's a very powerful book that I strongly recommend for anyone who is interested in building a business niche or becoming an entrepreneur. Now, here are the key takeaways from this book. The first thing I learned from this book is you have to learn to start small if you're interested in building a business. You don't need to build a multi-billion empire at a go. You can start from a very humbling beginning. You can start from the scratch, then you will build your business over time. Now, once you start small, you should start thinking of how you can scale that business up. And that is the second lesson that I picked from this book. You should start thinking of how you can scale that business up. And one of the best ways that you can scale your business up is to go into manufacturing. Once you go into manufacturing, then you can scale that up very quickly. If you look at the businesses of Aliko Dangote, you see that most of his businesses are around manufacturing. For instance, cement, cereals, sugars, flours, all these things are about manufacturing, and that is the route he took to really become the richest person on the African continent. Now, the last major takeaway from this book is the fact that you have to believe in Africa and believe in your country. Believe in Africa and believe in your country that you can succeed right where you are. You don't need to go in search of greener pastures in another person's land. You don't need to go to a foreign country before you can excel as a person in this world. Believe in Africa and believe in the country that you are. Africa is blessed with so much resources, and it has a lot of the resources that the world needs. However, it could be that the problem is with leadership, or that it is a mind shift. It's a mindset problem. So you have to learn to believe in Africa, and once you get that mindset, you can begin to position yourself to take advantage of all the opportunities that are abundant in Africa. So those are three major key takeaways from the book, The Biography of the Richest Black Person in the World. I strongly recommend that anyone who is interested in leadership, who is interested in building a business, I strongly recommend this book for you. Now, the next book that I'm going to talk about is actually a novel. It's a novel that talks about it compares the birth of two people, one born from an aristocratic family and one born from a very poor family. And that is the book Kane and Abel. Kane and Abel. This is a book written by Jeffrey Archer. Jeffrey Archer compares two worlds, one an aristocrat and one a very poor family. However, the one born from a poor family was able to rise to the level that he became one of the biggest business success stories in the world. So the major takeaways from this book are: one, your background doesn't dictate your destiny. your background doesn't dictate your destiny. Irrespective of the background that you come from, it is very much possible that you can rise and achieve any level of success that you aspire to. This is because if you look at the story of Kane and Abel, you see that Abel came from a very humbling beginning, but he was able to rise to the level that he became one of the biggest business successes on the planet. Okay. Now the second takeaway from this is character and mindset. Character and mindset. You could be born in a very humbling beginning. You can come from a very humbling beginning, but if you have strong character, if you have a determined character, and you have the right mindset, then it's possible that you can really achieve any level of success in this life. So those are the major takeaways from this book that I learned. Now the last takeaway from this is the fact that business has always been and will always be the way to go if you are interested in building an empire. Business is the best way to go. You can't make money by working for somebody. You can't make money by trading your time for money. The best way to make money is to go into a business, employ other people to help you build and expand that empire. That's a major takeaway from the book Kane and Abel. Now the last book on my list is a book written by the late Dr. Spencer, and that goes by the title, Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese? This book is a book that talks about change and how each of us respond to change. The book uses 4 characters to look at how people adopt to change. Now, I know most of us struggle in dealing with change. Sometimes some of us decide not to even notice that there is a need for change. Some also decide that there is a need for change, but they are not willing to take action. Yet there is also another group that accept that there is need for change and they are willing to take action. So this book clearly outlines all the different characters and how they adopt to change. Now, before I conclude, there is one quotation that I want to quote from one of my favorite people, and that is a quote by C. Jobel. He said that you can't be afraid of change. You may be very secured in the pond that you are in now, but if you never venture out of it, how will you know that there is such a thing as an ocean or a sea? Holding on to something that is good for you now may be the very reason why you do not have something better. So this is all about change. Now, most of us, sometimes we become very comfortable in our environment and where we are, and we are not willing to go out to try new things. So this book is a book that will inspire you to go out there and try new territories, adapt to change, and really think positive about change. Change is good. It is an opportunity for you to grow. So those are the 5 practical books that I've read that I think that they have been very helpful in my life. It is my hope that 1 or 2 of these books will also provide value to you if you make the time out to read them. And if you have really gotten some value out of this video, please remember to give this video a like to show your support, and also to subscribe if you haven't done that already. Thank you very much for your time, and God richly bless you. Bye.